Kai.
All right, HBCU Legends fans, it's Kyle T. Mosley here with Coach Daryl Steward. We're about to drop some knowledge on you. What's going on with HBCU football? Tomorrow's going to be August, Coach. And everybody's getting up and ready. Camps are starting. And we got some other tidbits and details about HBCU sports that we're going to share with you on this broadcast tonight. Coach, how you been, man?
I'm doing well, Mr. Mosley. How about yourself this evening?
Good. We in the throes of things now. I mean, we got camp starting here in Houston. Texas Southern started their camp. I know last week several camps started. Southern University, you spoke about those guys last week, and you have some more that are kicking off their camps. But right now, this is it, man. We have been talking about football and what we thought all season for the off season, but now how do you feel about going into the season with everything up and running in the SWAC as well as MEAC?
Well, you're right, Kyle. It's here. It's time, and the coaches and the players are gearing up. Some teams have started practice. Some teams look good, and some teams got out to a bad start. So, it's here. Hopefully these guys are in shape, ready to go. And hopefully everybody's focused on putting a great product on the field.
Yeah, not only putting a great product on the field, I think everybody right now, especially the young talent, and we can't talk about football unless we talk about the players, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with some of these preseason awards, some preseason honors, and preseason All-American teams that have been put out there recently this week. But before we get into that, guys, you can follow us at HBCU Legends on Sports Illustrated. Go to hbculegends.net. That'll take you directly to our Sports Illustrated site. You can follow us, our podcast as well, with HBCU Legends on Sports Illustrated, or you can go directly to redcircle.com and be able to listen to our podcast directly there as well. But before we go on, Coach, we had a significant loss. Coach out of Texas Southern University, Robert Moreland, passed away at the age of 85 this week. He finished his career at Texas Southern. His entire head coaching career was at Texas Southern. He had 406 wins and 377 losses. He served from 1975 to 2001 and came back as an interim coach from 2007 to 2008. He had a significant influence on the Tigers basketball program. He had 6 20-win seasons and 1 30-win season, but most of all, he won the NAIA National Basketball Championship in 1977 when they defeated Campbell 71-44. Coach, what's your thoughts on the loss of this legend?
Oh, man, when I first heard about it, one of our greats, Kyle, you talking about a guy that started that Texas Southern program, that dynasty, how Coach Moreland used to recruit at a high level. And you knew Texas Southern basketball team was going to be ready when they walked in there with Kevin Granger and the rest of the players.
Right.
And so you just know that big – I remember when he had that big championship run. And you talking about a coach that was feared. Coach Moreland was an outstanding basketball coach, and he's going to be greatly missed, Kyle.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Granger stated to us here at HBCU Legends that not only was Coach Moreland a legendary coach, but he was just as legendary as a person. We mourn the passing of Coach Moreland, who was a special individual, and wish his family our condolences during this difficult time. And Commissioner Charles Dr. Charles McClellan. We can't leave off the doctor. He said Coach Robert McMorland was a true legend whose profound impact on the game of basketball will forever be remembered. He was a remarkable coach and administrator that genuinely cared about the personal growth and development of his student athletes, both on and off the field. The historic legacy he leaves behind will forever be honored and cherished by the Southwest Athletic Conference. Well, and we know that he's a Hall of Famer in the SWAC, right? So we send our prayers from HBCU Legends to the family as well. We will have more details on Coach Moreland's passing and his funeral a little bit later on the site. All right, so that's one coach that passed away. There was another significant passing away, and we'll talk about him later. That's the coach out of Fayetteville State who passed away earlier this week as well. I don't know if you heard about that. Raymond McDougal Sr., he passed away. He was the former head coach of the guys over at Fayetteville. So prayers to him and his family as well. He was responsible for 16 CIA golf championships. Wow. Think about that. Yeah. And he's a 3-time Hall of Famer, and he was just a great person. If I remember correctly, these guys talked about how well and dedicated he was to the program, and he gave his service to the school for 44 years. So that's a significant loss as well. All right, Coach. Let's go into talk about some of these All-American teams. Today, box to row, Donnell Ware and his crew, he had the national sports writers, and I am one of those voters as well, that went online, and we gave our votes to the first team offense and defense for the preseason of 2024. And for offense, let's talk about it. How you feel about it? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Miles Crawley from Grambling is the quarterback. The 2 running backs, Jada Byers as well as Donovan Eaglin, are the running backs that were selected. Let's just stop there. How you feel about those guys?
Definitely Miles Crawley, big play guy. Did some great things at Grambling's, coming back for his senior season. And he's a big dual threat quarterback. You know, he did some outstanding things for Hugh Jackson. They were 1 game away. You know, that big Alcorn State loss at the reservation. If they would have won that one, then they would have been right in for the West as a championship. But Grambling's going to be ready. Coach Mika Joseph has great talent in there, and to push Miles Crawley, but Miles Crawley definitely a big quarterback, can make all the throws. Let's just hope Grambling has a plan for him.
Yeah, definitely. And Jada Byers was the HBCU Rusher of the Year for 2022. So he is coming back for his senior year at Virginia Union, as well as Eaglin over at Alabama A&M. 2 guys to watch. The offensive lineman, you got Grable from FAMU. We call those guys the Rattlers. So he's going to be on the offensive line. You got Humphrey from NCCU, Henry from Jackson State, Dunn from Alabama State, Grambling's Taj Martin, and I appreciate his mother reached out to me directly, man, to say thank you for acknowledging my son on the platform. And that's good to when you hear from the parents, man. Nick Tace of South Carolina State, that wraps up the offensive linemen. Any of those guys stand out to you?
Definitely Evan Henry of Jackson State. Big play offensive lineman, you know, can play guard, center, can play number of positions up front. 6'5", 320 pounds,
big boy.
Statue. And so I'm expecting great things out of him at Jackson State. And also the kid at South Carolina State, Nick Tate. Outstanding kid, has the mental makeup, I believe he's a 3-year starter. And, man, this kid can really play, Kyle. So, Coach Beard has his hands full, and he might shock the world.
He might. And we'll talk about that later. I got my thoughts on that one, man. Tight end, you got Tavarius Griffin from Alcorn State, and the wide receivers, you have Malachi Langley out of Lincoln in Pennsylvania. You have Fabian McCray from Jackson State, and you have, let's see, that's it. That's the offense there for the box to roll guys, and any of those wide receivers. Now, I know you're going to say Jackson State, so go ahead and talk about McCray.
I'm very shocked that Fabian McCray beat out Rico Powell. Rico Powell made some great catches last year. He was the go-to guy. But Fabian McCray is also a great receiver as well. Just very shocked at the list, but he made it, and so now he has to prove to be the number one guy that he is. So, but definitely watch out for Rico Powers as well.
Mr. Rico Powers, yes. And let's talk about the defense, man. Defense, you got Kelby Givens from Southern University. He's also the SWAC preseason player of the year on defense. And then you have Malachi Bailey from Alcorn State, defensive lineman, Aaron Miller from Benedict, Traquan Thomas from Alabama State, Elijah Williams from Morgan State. Those guys wrap up the defensive linemen. Any one of those guys stick out to you?
Definitely Kelby Givens, the defensive lineman from Southern University. He had, Kyle, this is going to be tight because you had Malachi Bailey, who's an outstanding defensive lineman that is a 3-year starter, and then you have the dominance, the breakout year last year of Kelby Givens. So, I thought this was kind of a toss-up. I thought it probably should have went to Malachi Bailey, but Kelby Givens is a wrecking machine, and he's going to do some outstanding things for Southern University.
Yeah, especially talking about, let's stay with that vein of wrecking machines, Mr. Rico Dozier of Alabama State. That boy was a tackling machine over at the Golden Lions, and he transferred over to Alabama State. Now, Coach, I'm going to say this, and I'm going on record and saying this. I think Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. had 2 underrated transfers. One was this young man, Rico Dozier. The second was Andrew Body. Those 2 can help transform the offense and defense and the complexion of how those guys play football this coming season. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely thought he did the right thing with revamping his roster with 2 highly, highly effective players. Andrew Body at the quarterback position, Rico Dozier at the linebacker position. Both are steals that you get out of the portal. And, this is a young and up-and-coming coach that's doing his homework. He's not a hoorah guy. He just believes in doing it on the field. And I'm very, very pleased at the way that Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. is carrying himself and his team right now.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the MEAC Defensive Preseason Player of the Year. He shows up on this list. That's Eric Hunter from Morgan State, as well as the young man Hassan from Lane. Those are the 2 that wrap up the linebacker position. But Eric Hunter, man, he's been getting a lot of recognition lately. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, Eric Hunter, a big play guy, the young coach up there at Morgan, he's going to have his hands full this year. This is supposed to be his breakout year at Morgan. And so, I just think right now that Morgan is in a great predicament. They have all their returning players back. And so they should do some great things this year, Kyle.
Good. And forgive me, Texas Southern fans, I forgot to mention Jacob Williams also showed up on the list at linebacker. The young senior out of Fresno, Texas here. He is a part of that linebacker All-American crew. And let's get into the defensive backs. You got Kendall Bowler. Well, we know that name, right? We know Kenny Gallup Jr. We know that name, right? Those two lead up that defensive backfield. But also you got Burgess out of Alabama State, Prunty out of North Carolina A&T, as well as Wilson from Florida A&M. But when you look at Bowler and Gallup, those guys were in the Celebration Bowl leading their defenses. Talk about how important those two guys may be setting themselves up to enter into the NFL draft talk.
Yeah, definitely Kendall Bowler is the captain of that defense. He's going to get that defense in great position to make plays. He's going to be the leader on that side of the ball. And I think Coach Koza is going to do a great job with him, as well as Gallup at Howard.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Gallup is a player. He's going to make all the plays. He's going to put the defense in all the right calls. So, I think both of these guys are definitely NFL prospect guys. And based on the year that they're going to have this year, Kyle, hopefully they'll get drafted.
Yeah, definitely. Gallup also was the Aeneas Williams Award winner last season, as well as the MEAC Defensive Player of the Year. So kudos to him. Let's talk about the specialists to wrap this up. Matt Knoll from Jackson State wasn't a big surprise there. I think a lot of people know how well that guy punts, Then you have Florida A&M's Cameron Gillis, who is the place kicker. And then you have the punt returner Robert McMinn, who I think every chance he can touch the ball, he may be able to take that ball back, right? And as well as Keith Jenkins from Morgan State, he's the kick returner who is a part of that All-American list. And honorable mention, you have Isaiah Freeman from Lincoln, Elijah Burris from Hampton, Trayvon Branch from Morgan State, and Johnny Jones from Edward Waters, linebacker DeMarcus Cunningham from Alabama State, Mikael King from Tuskegee, and place kicker James Lowry from Tennessee State, and Jawan Bell from Fort Valley State. Those guys receive honorable mention on the Box to Row 2024 preseason All-American team. Coach, I think these are pretty good players, and I know a lot of people, including myself, say, well, we could have included a couple here or there. Are there any inclusions that you thought should have made this list?
Yeah, definitely the running back at Jackson State, Herb Mulligan. Man, he did some big runs last year, won some big games for Jackson. I'm surprised he's not on this list. Scored a lot of touchdowns. He's going to be a wrecking machine, Kyle. And I'm just very surprised that he didn't make the list. But, the two that they got on here are well-deserved. But Herb Mulligan's going to be a kid to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Andrew Body, in my opinion, hasn't gotten any recognition this whole preseason, so that chip on his shoulder is going to be huge coming the opening game against those guys, NCCU in the Orange Blossom Classic, as well as Jace Wilson, who was the 2023 SWAC Newcomer of the Year. He hasn't gotten any love as well, so watch out for those two guys. All right, and before we kind of wrap up and start paying some bills, let's talk about this, Coach. We had two players to land on the FCS Stats Perform Walter Payton Award watch list, and those two HBCU players are, we talked about one earlier, that's Mr. Miles Crawley again, who as the quarterback for the Grambling State Tigers, he showed up on the list, as well as running back Jarrett Hunter, who's the MEAC Offensive Preseason Player of the Year. He showed up on the list as well. What about those two guys that people need to really keep their eyes open for them?
Yeah, definitely Miles Crowley. He has a lot of people watching him. And, let's not forget Mickey Joseph brought in 2 quarterbacks to push him as well. So hopefully, Miles Crowley is doing what he's supposed to do to win that quarterback position and put Grambling in the top of the West.
Yeah. And they had some Buchanan Award watch guys earlier announced today, and we'll talk about those guys when we get a chance to come back. This is Coyote Mosley of HBCU Legends on with Daryl Steward, Coach Daryl Steward, and we'll be back in 1 minute. All right, Coach, we're back to it. Let's talk a little bit about, have you been watching the Olympics, man?
Yeah, man. Simone Biles, Shakara Richardson, those girls are really, really performing at a high level.
Yeah, well, of course, we know Byers and Manuel, those guys medaled. Byers with the gold, Simone Manuel with the swimming, silver for the 4x100 meters. But let's talk about 2 rap icons that have been taking over the Olympics, man. That's Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav, man. Man, I love Flav, number one. I don't care what anybody say. I love Flav. Always have with Public Enemy. But Snoop Dogg has been doing very, very well with his analysis, man. What's your quick thoughts about both of those guys?
I'm very proud of Snoop Dogg. For one, he's definitely a marketing genius. He knows how to entertain. He knows how to turn it off. And it just shows. I want all our rappers and celebrities to really watch Snoop Dogg right now. He's at the highest event in sports, which is the Olympics. He's competing with both parties, Kyle, white and black. And so, I just think he's a marketing genius. He's doing some great things for the celebrities and also for the rap game. But I'm very impressed with how he's carrying himself as a celebrity and how he's greeting, the crowd over there at the Olympics. But kudos to him, and he's doing an outstanding job, Cal.
He is, man. I think when he said he was calling a badminton game, right, with Mike Tirico, and he said, man, look at that. He was going back and forth. And he said, look at that, man. He made it drop like a casket. I was like, what? So I know he's just been entertaining to listen to, but Flavor Flav has taken it to another level, man. Flavor Flav is a sponsor for the U.S. water polo team, especially the women's water polo team. And I listened to an interview with Gayle King and Nate Burleson. Snoop's is great, but Flav said, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. He's sponsoring these young ladies. He's giving everybody on the team a trip on Virgin Cruises, and he's putting $1,000 each in their pockets. Isn't that something?
And you also got to look at this, Kyle. This is an event for a lifetime. This is an event that's going to follow you a lifetime. You'll be able to get royalties off of it for a lifetime. I was very surprised that none of our athletic directors reached out, being Snoop Dogg is from the Mississippi area. But, you got to watch these type of events and know that these are events that can change your life. And so, just shocking that we have so many corporate CEOs that are at the HBCU level, and nobody reached out to Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav on this life-changing event. I'm very shocked behind this, Kyle.
Man, you make a very astute point. I think about that.
We always complaining about money. Do we know the money game? To have one of our celebs that's always in the news and always being talked about, whether it's negative or positive, to be in the highest paid. This is just like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you know, these are life-changing events. To not have an athletic director, not just in the SWAC, but the MEAC as well, to reach out and say, hey, how can I get involved in this? Is disheartening, Kyle.
And I have no argument against it, so that's why it's dead silence, guys. And I agree with you, Coach. And it would have been great. Let's say you had the FAMU, give them all some FAMU shirts or some Howard Bison shirts or something to that nature. Have them put it on. Have Simone Byers and Manuel and those guys put something on. Like Simone Manuel, I went to school with her mom and dad. They both are graduates of Xavier University, which is an HBCU. Man, right. Put those shirts on them. Advertise your schools. That's a great marketing aspect for them, because we're not talking about thousands just watching the Olympics. We talk about millions watching the Olympics, and that's a great point. So let's talk about the Buck Buchanan Award. Buck Buchanan, the watch list has gone out, and we talked about a few of these young men already who the FCS believes should be on the watch list, and that's Mr. Gibbons from Southern, Eric Hunter from Morgan State, Kendall Bowler from FAMU, and Kenny Gallup from Howard. I think those guys are going to be well representing their institutions for that award, which is based upon another HBCU guy, Buck Buchanan. So how do you feel?
Yeah, definitely Kendall Bowler and Kenny Gallup, those two, they already on NFL watch list. Those two are going to be competing for it all. You know, they're great young men on and off the field, and very excited. Can't wait to watch them this year.
Very, very excellent choices to be able to have on that watch list, man. And you know, one thing that Doug does well, he and Shaq, is that they have their own little watch list that should be coming out with the Black College Football Hall of Fame, and that should be coming out pretty soon. So I know we're talking about some of these names. We're kind of repeating names at this juncture because these are some of the young talents that we know. But also, Coach, there are a lot of young guys that haven't been represented on this list that may be the cream rising to the top as the season progresses. So I think you and I, we may want to do next week's show and talk about some of the guys we think are not being mentioned enough and maybe part of the top HBCU elite players of the year. Okay?
Right.
All right, cool. All right, Coach. We always got to talk about a little controversy.
Yes, definitely out there.
And guys, it's more controversy at FAMU. So, Coach, I don't know, man. Coach has been hired, Coach Creary, hired to be able to take over the men's basketball program, right?
Right.
Then there was a delay with his contract, and the FAMU Board of Trustees didn't quite want to get on board with a multi-year contract. So they nixed the idea of having I think it was just a 3-year contract that was proposed, and they broke it down to just a 1-year deal. Now, if you're Coach Creary coming into this situation, is that a vote of confidence?
Man, it's tough, Kyle. It's definitely not the professional thing to look at. You know, I think that he's in a tough predicament right now. You know, having 1-year contract, what can you do on the collegiate level? Nothing but keep the team together and try to hope for the best. But, you know, this is unfortunate for that young man. He left a good program coming into the FAMU situation. Now, they have an interim president. So let's hope that the interim president feel sorry for this young man and try to come in and reconstruct the deal. But, it's definitely something that the board doesn't like that he's doing. And I just hate that he's in a predicament like that, especially when you're leaving a job that was a good job, coming into another job. And so I don't think it's AD Sykes' fault.
Okay, you say, I want some breakfast. Your so-called boyfriend says, we got eggs in the fridge. Obviously, when you say breakfast, you mean McDonald's. Definitely a side-eye situation.
Bring home the bacon, steak patty, or others with a BOGO for $1 breakfast. Only in the app. Limited time only at participating McDonald's. Valid once a day. Must opt into rewards. Visit McD app for details.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is really, really like a team effort in this decision. And so, when you look at it, some people didn't like the decision of him being hired. And then you had those who did. And so, I don't know, Kyle. I just think right now he's in a tough predicament.
Okay, you've been nice about it. I think this is a debacle in a lot of ways. And as a trustee of the institution, they've been hit with a lot of missteps over the past several years, right? Especially the past couple of years, from the guys not qualifying to play that first game against North Carolina, the rap video we talked about the misstep with the hemp farmer, and some of the coaching hire process wasn't to the liking of a lot of people in the alumni associations, right? So a lot of this has been one after another and after another. And some people are going to say, well, that's the likelihood of most institutions. Things are not going to always go smoothly. But when it comes to when a trustee, I think Trustee Lawson, that Steve Gaither from HBCU Game Day has written down here. He says, Trustee Lawson said, everyone knows it takes time in a program to rebuild. I get that. I want to be careful what I say because I'm not trying to be disparaging. But out of 50 candidates, this person probably would not have finished in the top 5 in most races. Wow. That's not a vote of confidence, man.
Right.
That's pretty much saying we don't believe in the process that VP of Intercollegiate Athletics Tiffany Dawn Sykes and the 5-person committee that was searching for the new coach went through.
Right.
That's not a vote of confidence for her as well. Now, Dr. Robinson was a staunch AD Sykes guy, so now he's gone, right? What is this saying about her leadership as well? Is that an indictment on her?
No, not at all. If you've been around HBCU football, schools like Southern FAM and Grambling, they have these big boards. It's just not going to be AD Sykes' decision. And so when you look at Coach Coles, I believe she wanted McNair, but Coach Coles came in and they wanted to keep the team together. So they went along with Coach Coles. Now this guy here comes in, it's definitely not all her decision.
But think about what you just said. She wanted another coach. The board didn't want that coach.
Right.
She wanted this coach. Doesn't seem like that board really wanted this coach. It's that tug of war. So who's going to win in the end?
Well, definitely the people who sign your checks. What she has to do as a leader right now, she has to document everything that she said as a winner.
Right.
And, FAMU is a traditional school. The fans, the alumni, they're pretty going to make the big, tough decisions. She can request this person, But the board, ultimately, the board it's going to come down to the board. Let's just face it. And so, what she has to do now, though, as a leader, Kyle, and CEO, document everything that she has, did everything by the policies and rules of the institution. And so, like I said, this is just an unfortunate situation. I will tell these coaches this, Kyle, from experience. If they don't want you, it's not going to work. Now, it's clearly something going on with this hire. Now, the best thing to do, what I would do, is see can we find him somewhere else instead of moving his family up, and then giving, who does a 1-year deal, Kyle? I never heard of that on the college level.
Yeah, so, because originally it was 3-year, $450,000 contract that was proposed to him by AD Sykes, and they were with it, So, but now when you balk and you only say we only want to give you a 1-year deal, kind of like a prove it deal,
right? And
it's only for 150. Let me say it like Spike would say, 150. What do you think about? How do you feel as a coach going into this?
I will say this, Kyle. Florida is just like Texas. They have different laws. I don't know if it's a such thing as a 1-year deal, but I do know that the laws are different in Florida. And so, unless, I probably would look at being on an interim base so this won't hurt his career, because he's young and upcoming in his career. And, just like I said, you want to leave on a good note, but who knows? Who knows what's going on behind closed doors? It's definitely something else going on. Let's see what the board is going to say about it because, hey, it just hit the media this week, so a lot of people going to talk about it. And so I think we owe it to the board to hear their side and why that they might be the first school, Kyle, the first HBCU school to give a coach a 1-year contract.
Yep, 1-year contracts. Yeah, but here's the problem. 1-year contracts to me, just like in the National Football League, when you give a guy, I recall that the New Orleans Saints did this to Jameis Winston, right?
Right.
2 years in a row, they gave him 1-year contracts.
Right.
What does that say? That's saying we kind of believe in you, but not so much we believe in you.
Right. We don't want to invest in you long term.
Right. We want to have an out clause. It's just like
we want to keep you around for safety, Kyle.
Yeah. It's just like a girl telling you, "I give you 1 date." You don't impress me that 1 date. Hey, I told you up front, it's just 1 date. So yeah, it's just something like that, man. We just got to look at that as a whole. I think when they introduced him, because he led the St. Thomas University Bobcats to a 61-27 record when he was coaching, and it seems like he's a pretty young, aggressive coach. He's only 40 years old. And, right now when you're dealing with a very wide open SWAC, I still believe. You still have Mo Williams. You still have Johnny Jones, of course, out of Texas Southern to have to deal with. But you also have Dante Jackson up there at Grambling, who looks like he's going to be a powerhouse that is just in the development up there, right? So you look at all of these competing coaches. Can Coach Patrick Creary put it out there for the Rattlers? We'll know after this season, right?
Well, the one thing Patrick Creary has going for him in his program right now, what he has to do, and I had to put my CEO skills on for this because I kind of feel sorry for the young man. But he has to reach out to Shaquille O'Neal right now. He has to. He has his son. on the team. He is very powerful in the HBCU landscape. He has to reach out to him. Hey, man, I want you involved. Hey, Kyle, I've seen it done where eventually, Kyle, I would make him a consultant and a coach. I've seen it done. I mean, he has nothing to lose. He's on a 1-year deal. He has a kid like Shaquille O'Neal's son on his team.
Right.
And that's, what are you going to say to the parents? What are you going to say to his mom? Hey, I might not be here next year. I'm on a 1-year deal. Hey, he has to go in right now. If he hasn't, Coach Creary, if you hadn't hired a staff, you probably need to hire Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, because it's just, like I said, Kyle, I never heard of anything like this.
Yeah. At least, like you say, make him a consultant, advisor. That's what they call it. Yeah, that's the word. Advisor to the team. So to be able to help those guys out. And so we will keep an eye on what's happening in Tallahassee and see what's happening in Tallahassee.
Well, Kyle, I want to ask you this. And, we always go to, for some strange reason, we always go to search firms and lawyers. I mean, if I dealt with lawyers. I mean, nobody looked at his contract and said, hey, Coach, this is a 1-year deal. Well, I mean, I'm just intrigued. I'm trying to figure out.
Well, remember the proposed contract was 3 years by VP AD Sykes, right?
Right.
It's the Board of Trustees that has broken down to just 1 year. So this just happened. So that's the whole.
And that's one of the reasons why I said I believe the Board of Trustees is going to give a statement to the FAMU Nation and to the community, because this is ridiculous, Kyle.
Okay. I feel you, man.
Let's hit a side before we start giving opinions.
Okay. All right. We don't need any opinionators on this one. We need the facts and just the facts. Let's just break it down to the ground like we know how it sounds. All right, man. Quay Davis, the young man out of Texas Southern, the dynamic wide receiver, has a new home with the Southern University Jaguars. And that should be something that these guys really look at and say, man, thank you. I think that was a good find for those guys. We had breaking news. Davius Richard from North Carolina Central. He signed a contract with the UFL's Houston Roughnecks, and he will be a part of the Roughnecks for next season. I think we talked a little bit about that on the last show as well, but kudos to him. But Trey Oliver was in the news, and Coach isn't too happy. He feels as though people are disrespecting NCCU. Do you think he has a bone to pick?
I think so, Kyle. When you look at a guy like Chinsbury coming in, that's very, very known in the HBCU world. But, when you talk about Trey Oliver and what he's done at NCU, I mean, to have, some people say he doesn't have a big budget. They've been dealing with budget problems, and to recruit at a high level, to win at a high level. And let's face it, he was the only coach to beat Coach Prime. So that has to stand for something. But when you look at this program and the trials and tribulations that's been going on at Central, I'm very surprised that he's still at Central. I really am.
That part that's fact. And I agree with you on that. Go on.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's still at Central. But I agree with him. But come Orange Blossom Classic, he will have a chance to redeem his program and let everybody know. Because if he beats Alabama State, a tough Alabama State team, oh man, you watch out. He could win it all.
Yeah. Coach said the chip on the shoulder is not going anywhere. I coach this game. We win championships. I love it, man. I love it. All right, that's Coach Trey Oliver, man. He's one of the top coaches. If in my opinion, he's the top coach right now in HBCU football Division I, and I have to give him his props for what he has been able to accomplish and build up that program. Right, we got 15 minutes left to the program, guys. Let's give you some news out of the NFL. One of the Saints stars that they picked up from HBCU side, that's Mark Evans II, offensive lineman out of Pine Bluff. He was released. He had a tough Saturday last week, Coach, and but you see a lot of other young HBCU guys across the whole league have been on practice squads, and in training camp they're making some headway, man. So anything that you're looking out for some of these guys coming forward?
No, man, just as a scout and talking to these young men, just stay in your playbook, stay hungry, be knowledgeable of the position and what you're doing, and always ask your coaches questions, because it's more of our kids in the league now than ever, Kyle. And so they don't have any excuses not to be in your playbook. You're going to have time. We know those 10-day checks are probably some checks Kyle, even the 10-day checks in the league are life-changing.
Oh, significant.
So, you're going to have time to spend your money. But the biggest problem is for a lot of our kids, they're not used to being paid every week and staying focused, which some of them, and that's where the parents come in. And parents, if you're listening, stay with your child, grab those checks, or put it in the right use right now, because they're going to have time to party. The off season is coming, but right now it's time to be focused. And it's just unfortunate, Kyle. The NFL stands for not for long. And when you look at the kid from Pine Bluff, that one mistake, he got his shot, he got in the scrimmage, and when you make that mistake, you give them a chance to target you and say, hey, we're going to have to release you. So it's good that he got out of there healthy. Let's hope another team pick him up, Kyle.
Yeah, he sent me a text saying, Mr. Mosley, hey, I can control what I can control. I'm encouraging. He's looking forward to what's the next stop he has. And I have to agree with him. You can only be sad for so long in this league too, right? And it's not for long. You can only not be for long be sad before you be able to make your next move too. Yeah, that's just the bottom line, man. Look, there's more rumbles and shakings going on with this NIL deal when you talk about the NCAA settlement and the House of Representatives that has kind of been transforming how these conferences, especially the smaller FCS schools and conferences, are going to handle paying back some of that money from these NIL deals, man. And the U.S. District Court Judge Claudia Wilkins, she's working out how to certify the whole settlement right now. So that's going to be something to take place. So they got a preliminary approval that's going to take place September 5th. And I don't know, man. I just think right now, if this case lingers on, I think this season you may not see the settlement coming out of the pockets of the MEAC or the SWAC, but it may be next year.
Well, Kyle, this thing has gone global now. And if you don't have a global CEO or head coach that has any type of global mind frame, you're going to be in trouble. The state of Alabama has embraced the NIL deal. Of course, we heard LSU coach talk about the NIL deal today, Brian Kelly. All the coaches are on board with it. And you just have to learn to adapt, Kyle. Adapting to change it's a necessity for our league, and some of our coaches are adapting to it. If you look at what's going on in the landscape of HBCUs right now, you're going to be in big mega markets dealing with NIL. So it just doesn't help football. It's going to help basketball, women's sports, and all sports, Kyle. So we just got to learn to adapt to change and be ready for the task at hand.
Yeah. You have to innovate.
There you go.
At this juncture of modern sports, you have to be able to kind of learn how to ride the wave like a surfer, right? How you gonna navigate that wave? Every wave ain't the same, but you gotta still stay on top of that surfboard. So how you gonna do that right now is the key. And you look at what's happening in the sports industry as a whole when these mega deals are coming out. We talked about the NBA mega deal that right now Turner, TNT, they lost their deal to Amazon, I believe, and NBC, and those guys are going to take over. But now they're suing because they said, they said we had the rights, and they did. It was in their contract. They had the right to match the top offer, and they believe they did so, but the NBA say, no, we're going with these guys. So watch out for that. And the WNBA should be finalizing a $3 billion deal from where they are right now. But hold on. Legend Cheryl Miller said she believes that deal is too little. A little deal. So how you feel about that one, Coach?
Hey, she might get back into coaching, Kyle.
She looked good on that sideline, didn't she?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta give a shout out to these commissioners, the WNBA commissioner, the NBA commissioner, and also Roger Goodell, because they changed the landscape in the games, and the owners, they love it now. They love playing in France. They love going to Mexico. They love going to Dubai. All the pro sports now are going global, but the big money, you look at the contracts of the quarterbacks now. It's because they're going global. And so I think it's just going to trigger down to college. And for long, Kyle, you're going to have probably a couple of the SEC teams to go global as well. The money's just too big.
Man, recall when Grambling played that game in Japan?
Wow, they did. They did.
Think about that. Why
big payday from that?
And it was just an exhibition, right? So the NFL knows the big money is international.
Right.
You see them moving in Mexico, Germany, England, right? Next, Spain, I think they are thinking about as well. So international is the big draw. HBCUs, and this was mind-boggling to me, and thank you fans for listening to Coach and I this past July. We've had over 80,000 downloads, Coach. Think about that. But when I was looking at the demographics of where our downloads have come from, of course, not over 90, I think over 99%, no, 98% was U.S., right? But we had people in Africa, Europe, South America, Ireland, listening to us, man.
Yeah, man. Kyle, we have learned as broadcasters, sports broadcasters, to adapt to change. And, you got to know where the big money, where the revenue channels are in media. And so thanks to you, you taught me well in my experience as being a sports broadcaster. So, hey, man, keep up the great work, man. But I'm just proud of our professional sports. When you look at the big Dak Prescott getting $160 million. Yeah. Oh, man. It's unbelievable what Commissioner Goodell is doing, and I just want him to keep up the great work, Kyle.
Yeah, and we both learned from the great Ralph Cooper here in the Houston area. My mentor, man, if it was not for Coop, just taking me under his wing and beating me up every now and then, it wouldn't be any good at all.
I kind of miss the old fella. I kind of miss him. Hopefully we'll be back on with him. But, man, you talking about a legend in sports broadcasting.
55 years.
Shout out to Daryl Cooper.
55 years. I got to see that 55 years, man. Cooper has been doing it, and it's been great to be a part of KCOH's broadcast on every Tuesday night. For the season coming up for HBCU Sports, we will be back on the air with Coach and I, as well as Ralph Cooper. So that should be great as well. Let's see. Countdown. We got 5 minutes left to the program, Coach. Anything on your mind, heart, anything you want to get off?
Yeah, I correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, what you just said. Texas Southern released their top rivals. Quay Davis is an explosive wide receiver. He made big catches last year. He's probably their leading receiver, right?
Yeah, I think he was. If he wasn't the leading receiver, he was their big play guy. That's what I would say. Okay.
For Southern University to get a talent like this, and watch out and see Coach Graves and Coach McNair and those guys over there at Southern University is whipping up. For him to get an explosive kid like this, Kyle, Coach Dishman is putting a lot of pressure on himself.
Well, and I'm gonna say it like this: the kid made the decision to leave the program for whatever his reason is, and you just have to support him on that. I don't think it was a situation where Coach Dishman pushed him out. I think it was more of a situation where the young man decided that he needed to go elsewhere. Okay. I have one announcement to make. HBCU GO is at their third season, man. Byron Allen and his team over at HBCU GO will put on additional broadcasts of HBCU football games this season. They have 26 games that they're broadcasting total. They'll be in 15 new television markets like Augusta, Abilene, Colorado Springs, Corpus Christi, Green Bay, and San Antonio, Washington, D.C., Wichita, St. Louis, those are just, and Knoxville, those are just some of the new areas that they're branching out into. Right now, they reached a deal to have 95% distribution for all of the 2024 football season, and that highlights their third year in the business. Man, that time flies. Really fast.
Yeah, shout out to Byron Allen and what they're doing at HBCU GO, Kyle. But, the television business is just so big right now, and the revenues that these conferences are getting, it's just through the roof. And shout out to them. They're getting into those media markets, and they're going global as well. So shout out to Byron Allen, and I hope they do an outstanding job this year.
Yeah, they will continue to do well. You got Charlie Neal. He's still going to be a part of that main broadcasting group. He and John Kelly to be in the booth together. So congratulations to those guys. And you also have Nia Simone and Lorenza Moten. They're part of the team. They may call a couple of games. So you never know. You may have an all-female crew calling a football game this year, man. Toyota is going to be the title sponsor for the 2024 HBCU New York Classic, which features Morehouse College, the Maroon Tigers. That's my team, baby. Against the Howard Bison. We ain't gonna talk about. We're not gonna talk about what's gonna happen. We're not gonna talk about it. But that was announced today that Toyota has come back to be their title sponsor. It's going to take place at MetLife Stadium in Saturday, September 14th. at 3 p.m. Eastern at MetLife Stadium. Hopefully I'll be there to be able to bring you guys some good content and to see the Maroon Tigers do their due. Coach, tell everybody how to find you on the World Wide Web.
Of course, HBCU Legends and Tycoon League 2 at gmail.com. I have over 100 hits right now, people listening to the show, talking about it. And Kyle, I also want to just thank our fans, man. I love them. Love them to death, what they do. We gonna have some, well, I'm gonna have a great Christmas present for our fans this year.
All right. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. You can check me out at KTMOZE on all the social media platforms, and you can check us out at HBCU Legends on all the social media platforms as well. And you can also go to hbculegends.net, and we will be there. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. That's Daryl Steward. Coach, see you later, man. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Later.